on Friday, the pressure was on Lens after they had surrendered top spot the previous weekend. But Pierre Sage's team responded well. They defeated Le Havre to go back above Paris Saint-Germain. Tom, you saw this one. How convincing was this from Lens?
Yeah, pretty convincing. I mean, the scoreline doesn't really bear that out, but they were pretty dominant. I mean, fair play again to Le Havre, who, as we've discussed on previous podcasts, are in a really invidious position financially. Cannot recruit new players, and yet Didier Digard is turning them into a very solid, very hard-working mid-table team, and there is a relatively well, I was going to say a large gap, but they're 6 points clear of the relegation playoff place, 7 points clear of the automatic relegation places, and they gave a reasonably good account of themselves. But yeah, Lens were much better. Had obviously lost in one-sided fashion at the Velodrome the weekend before, and after the game, Pierre Sage was very honest about some of the choices he'd made in terms of team selection. The big issue that they had at Marseille was that with Samson Baidoo being out, he had to recalibrate his defence. And what he did at the Velodrome was bring Mathieu Eudol back into defence, move Ruben Aguiar over to the left-hand side, and basically was kind of moving around a lot of the key performers. Change attack against Le Havre. He sort of tried to stick to the winning formula he's found this season as far as possible. So Eudol was left wing back, Aguiar was right wing back, and Malang Sarr had the two youngsters, Ismaila Ganiou and Kylian Antonio, inside him in defence. And yeah, they went ahead in first half stoppage time. Mathieu Eudol, who, as we know, has been brilliant all season long, crossing for his fellow wing-back, Ruben Aguiar, to come in and volley home at the back post. Thought they got a second goal in the second half through Adrien Thomasson. It was ruled out for a handball by Wesley Said. But ultimately, relatively comfortable victory, and they looked a bit more like the Lens that they had looked like prior to that defeat at Marseille, and briefly found themselves back on top of the table again. So perhaps we shouldn't be writing off their title challenge too quickly.
No, Andy, did you hear that? Do not write Lens off just yet. I think it's 10 wins in a row at the Stade Félix Bollard. They are very, very strong there.
9, yeah.
No, 10 in all competitions, maybe.
All right, okay, yeah, fair. Yeah.
Nine in the league, yeah, okay. On Saturday, Paris FC, we mentioned that they came from 2 down to draw with Marseille. Greenwood with a penalty, Aubameyang putting Marseille 2-0 up in the second half. But Jonathan Ikone on 82 minutes, Ilan Kebal scoring a penalty on 94 minutes, heaping on a bit more misery as far as Marseille are concerned. The next game on Saturday, I commentated it. It was Lorient against Nantes. It finished 2-1 to Lorient. And I'm just going to take a moment to talk about Lorient, because they are actually doing incredibly well at the moment. They are now unbeaten in 9 matches. They have won 5 and drawn 2 of their last 7. They are in the top half of the standings. And Andy's sort of, wide-eyed and sort of nodding, because we haven't talked about them. And this has kind of gone a little bit unnoticed. And I think Olivier Ponteloni, the coach, took charge at the beginning of last season, along with sporting director Laurent Koscielny, have done an unbelievable job. They've taken Lorient to the Ligue 2 title last season. They lost Elie Junior Kroupi to quite a lot of cash, and he scored plenty of goals in Ligue 2 last year, and he's clearly a really, really good player. But here they are, top half, like I say, on this incredible run. They were maybe a bit lucky to get a 2-1 win over Nantes, because Nantes had a goal disallowed for a very fractional offside right at the end. But Bamba Dieng scored the first goal for Lorient, and then Arsène Kouassi. Check out this free kick. Absolutely magic. And what a super little player he is. I've been looking at some of the deals, in particular, that Laurent Koscielny has done. He cost 1.5 million, Arsène Kouassi, from Ajaccio, where I assume he knew the coach Ponteloni already. Burkina Faso, left wing back, bombs up and down that flank. A really, really good signing. Another sort of lower profile player, perhaps, Noah Kadiou, but, big, strong guy, journeyman from Ligue 2, seemingly 27 years old. He's come in and done really well. So they haven't had much money, and they've put together this fantastic squad. So, Tom, do you think that's justified in giving Lorient a little bit of love? I mean, I think their annual budget's 60 million. They've done amazingly.
Absolutely. I think, one of the real success stories this season. I mean, we know all about the tradition of fine flowing football at Lorient, and they've been great to watch at times. You mentioned Arsène Kouassi, you've got Theo Lebris on the other side. Fantastic attacking wing-back pairing. We were talking about Mathieu Udal earlier. I think Arsène Kouassi is probably right up there in terms of the standout left-sided defensive players or left-sided wing-backs this season. And the rest of the season is going to be really interesting for Lorient. They're on 28 points. They are 14 points clear of the relegation places, so they are safe. The question now is how high can they finish? They are not far off the European places. There's very little pressure on them. Bamba Dieng is in fantastic form, having had quite a sluggish start to the season. I think it'll be really interesting to see what they can go and achieve, between now and the end of the season, because, the dynamic they're on currently, the kind of football they're playing, there's no reason why they can't be aiming at, sort of top 8, maybe even a top 6 finish.
Yeah. I mean, the top scorer is Pablo Pagis. He's done really well. Six goals so far. They do share the goals around, but 3 points off Rennes, who are currently 6th, which should be enough for Europe. And I just had a look. Their next 4 games are against Brest, Angers, Nice, Auxerre. Andy, Lorient for Europe?
No, but I do agree. No, but I do agree that Arsène Kouassi is an absolutely fabulous player, and he's very good at the AFCON with Burkina Faso. As you say, tremendous energy, squat little guy with enormous thighs, scores goals, sets them up, and I think he's going to be a big star, really big star, and he probably won't stay at Lorient beyond this season, to be honest.
Okay, and thank you for quashing the European dreams of our Lorient supporters.
So that's what Andy's here for. That is the balance that he is here to provide.
To be fair, the post-match interview, I'm not sure who it was with, but he was asked whether they're thinking about Europe, and he immediately said, "We want to secure our top flight status."
Very sensible young man.
And then we'll see. The late game Saturday night, Monaco defeated Rennes 4-0. I don't think that many people saw this one coming. Fati, Akliouche, Koulibaly and Idumbo with the goals. A first win in 2 months for Sébastien Pocagnoli's men, who remain in mid-table and have a Champions League playoff to look forward to against Paris Saint-Germain. Andy, I'll come to you now because PSG... They did respond on Sunday night to Lens's victory. They managed to win 2-1 away to Strasbourg, which is obviously an excellent result. But it was not a comfortable evening, was it, by any means?
No, but you can't expect it to be when you go to Strasbourg. They're a decent side, and Gary O'Neill's had a pretty good start as manager there, without making sort of enormous changes to the way they were playing previously under Liam Rosenior, like little tweaks. Listen, you go there, you grind out a win when you're not in fabulous form. I think that's absolutely fine, and I think there was some adversity for them because the penalty decision in the early stages of the game I would classify as harsh, albeit by the letter of the law it was a penalty, but they will feel that justice was done because Matvei Safonov made a great save from Joaquin Panicelli's spot kick. That was at 0-0, and then PSG went straight down the other end of the pitch and scored through Seni Mayulu. Luis Enrique, by the way, after the game, I went to his press conference and he said that Safonov is the best goalkeeper he's ever worked with at saving penalties, which is high praise. That was a big moment in the game. Strasbourg equalise. PSG looked like they might be in trouble because Achraf Hakimi gets sent off in the 74th minute. And again, I think that was an incredibly harsh red card. I really have to say. I think you're stretching it. Obviously, you have to, as a referee, look out for the safety of the players first and foremost. I think that's pushing things a little bit too far to send off Hakimi there. But again, it shows a tremendous character that PSG have, because that meant they had to play the last 60 minutes plus stoppage time down to 10 men. But rather than sit back and possibly even lose the game, they go on to win the game with a bit like we've seen from the Lens goal, one full-back crossing for the other one to score on Friday. This was essentially the right-back crossing for the left-back to score, because Zaire Emery was filling in at right-back again with Hakimi off, and he crossed for Nuno Mendes to score the goal. And it's a great result for PSG. Obviously, it takes them back to the top of the table. They're not in the full-flowing form that we've seen in the past, as we discussed in some depth last week, but they are doing just about enough. Obviously, the European result last midweek was not fantastic, and it means that they're going to have to come through the playoff.
Yeah, it's interesting, Andy. I was reading Luis Enrique's quotes from his press conference, and he seemed almost apologetic. He kept sort of saying, we were a bit lucky here, and we've been a bit lucky. And he obviously didn't think it was the best ever performance from PSG. I want to ask you how good you think Nuno Mendes is, on the scale of the best fullbacks in the world, not just left backs. And also, what does it actually say about PSG and their mentality that they're down to 10 men at the Menot, one of the toughest places to go, and their left back is up there scoring a headed goal to win the game towards the end? I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, it speaks to their physical superiority, really, as much as anything. You talk about teams playing too many games and PSG having lots of injuries because they're tired from last season, but at the same time, with 10 men, they can go to Strasbourg and win in that fashion. I think it's fantastic. Nuno Mendes is, we talked about Arsène Kouassi. I mean, he's just maybe an ever so slightly different player because he's not playing actually as a wing back. He's playing in a back four, and yet there was a point, wasn't there, when he was being sort of held back by Luis Enrique, that he was kind of having to play almost as a third centre back on the left side so that Achraf Hakimi could push forward to somehow provide balance. And then Luis Enrique eventually realised that no, actually Nuno Mendes has the energy and the ability to get up and down and be both a defender as well as an attacking fullback. And he popped up with a few goals this season, a couple of them I think in the Champions League. Absolutely brilliant left back. I mean, off the top of my head, I can't really think of a better left back in world football right now, and you'd say the same probably about Hakimi on the right-hand side. This is the thing about PSG, which we discussed last week. They have quality all over the pitch. It's not like Ousmane Dembele was a one-man show last season. Dembele came off the bench last night, didn't really have a big contribution in the victory. Nuno Mendes is the match winner, and they're going to need him to stay fit over the final months of the season. But I think, as a general rule, we saw that last night. It really wasn't a vintage Paris Saint-Germain performance by any means. But they still have enough to go to a club who are contenders for European qualification. It's the Strasbourg fans staged this silent protest at the beginning of games against their ownership, but it's still a very difficult and borderline intimidating venue to go to. And I think it's the resolve of champions to go and get a result like that in a place like that.
I thought you said that Mathieu Udol and Arsène Kouassi were the best left backs in France.
Well, we've just talked about three really good players. I mean, Mathieu. There are actually a lot of people here now in France, a lot of voices saying that Mathieu Udol deserves a call up to the France squad, and I think there's a real case for that because France have a bit of a left back problem. Not suggesting that Udol would be the first choice at left back, but I think he probably does deserve a chance when they play friendly matches in March. I think he's been outstanding. He's had injury problems which have hampered his career up until moving to Lens this season, but they seem to be behind him. He's been outstanding. Kouassi, I think, will get a move very soon to probably Germany or England, I would suspect, because he's got the ability to play there. And Nuno Mendes is already at one of the elite clubs in the world, and as I say, has a case to be the best left back out there anywhere at the moment.
Yeah, I was just ribbing you, Andy.
I know, but they are right. Three really outstanding players.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, PSG top then once again. They are 2 points above Lens, ahead of Sunday's huge game, Le Classique against Marseille. Lens are playing against Rennes, which should be a very interesting game as well. On Sunday, there was another win for Lyon, a terrific win. It was a difficult one. They beat Lille 1-0 thanks to a goal from their debutant Noah Nati, a young Danish midfielder signed from Brøndby. He started because Tyler Morton went down with a virus just before the game. Tolisso was out as well, so it's a really good win for Lyon. 10 wins on the bounce, 5 of them in Ligue 1, and they are level on points now with Marseille in third. 4 straight defeats for Lille, who continue to struggle. Now, what games have I not mentioned? Angers defeated Metz by 1-0, so it remains miserable for Metz, who looked particularly sheepish after Mouton scored Angers' only goal. Nice against Brest was a good one. I commentated that, and Nice showed plenty of fighting quality, actually, after a disastrous start. They went 2 down, conceding a penalty that Del Castillo converted. And then, who was it? It was Kamori Doumbia got the second goal for Brest. But Nice came back in the second half. Ali Abdi headed in a free kick from Jonathan Close, and Eli Wahi scored the 2-2 goal. That's 3 goals in 4 now for Eli Wahi. It was 0-0 between Toulouse and Auxerre, and I think that is your lot. But before we let you go, Andy, I'm going to ask you to give me a little a little bit of an opinion on certain transfers that are probably going down or have already gone down. Andy, I want you to give me a mark out of 10 for each of these transfers, and your mark is sort of looking at how successful a move you think this will be for player and for club.
Guys, look at this stat. You're all watching our content. That's great, but you've got to hit the subscribe button. Do it now.
So, Italian veteran Ciro Immobile to Paris FC.
5.
Ooh. Yeah, you don't see him doing it. He's what is he, 35 now? He's had a few injuries, but when he's been fit, he's been prolific.
I know, but I'm not convinced about that. I mean, I know that Immobile, I don't have his stats in front of me, but I think you look at the moves he's made in his career when he's gone abroad. He went to Dortmund, I think he was at Sevilla, and I think I'm right in saying that he never really performed in those places. Am I correct in saying that? But I think that just in general, I think it sounds like very much a stab in the dark from Paris FC to expect that move to pay off. I think they're the team who really lack a centre forward who can put the ball in the net. So I hope it works for them, but not convinced.
Okay, well, he got 15 goals for Besiktas last season, 169 goals in 270 games for Lazio. I'm going to say 7 out of 10. I expect him to score 7 goals and help Paris FC move to mid-table. How many goals do you think he'll get?
4.
All right, next one. Kader Meite, the teenage prodigy, excellent young attacker who has left Rennes to join Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, that's a very intriguing move to say the least. It obviously fits in with a lot of transfers that we're seeing now. Saudi clubs, big Saudi clubs with a lot of money going for young players, and they're obviously targeting the French market for 2 reasons. There are lots of very talented young players, and French clubs don't have much money, so they're susceptible to having to accept these offers. I think that's a shame for Rennes to lose Kader Meite because he's such an exciting young talent. I imagine that he might go there and spend a couple of years and then come back to Europe, so I don't think it's necessarily something that's going to hinder his development per se.
Going to have to push you here, Andy, for a mark.
For him or for Rennes?
It's good analysis. It's for the move in general. How do you feel about this move?
I'm not happy about this move. 2 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm giving it 1 out of 10 because I think it's really bad for the players' development. I mean, I don't want to disrespect the Saudi League. I admit I don't watch it very much. I think the standard is rising and it's probably not bad. But in terms of a player learning his trade, he needs to stay at Rennes. Like that's where he would progress best. So I think it's a shame. And we are seeing more young French players, like you say, moving to Saudi Arabia, which is not a trend that I'm particularly keen on. All right, next one, Andy. Jeremy Jacquet, 60 million euros to Liverpool.
Well, I think it's the same point, actually, because I think that it would be... I mean, Habib Bey said this very emphatically, that he thought it would be the best thing for the players' development to stay at Rennes, at least until the end of the season, of course.
Which is what he's doing, yeah.
But ideally longer than that. And I agree with that, broadly speaking. I mean, a youngish player without a huge amount of experience playing at the top level, it'd be nice if he would stay a bit longer, but that's the trend in the game these days, and I think Jeremy Jacquet is a good enough player to succeed in the Premier League. So for him, it's a wonderful move for him. 9 out of 10 for him, and for Rennes, 1 out of 10.
Yeah, but for Liverpool, good as well. So yeah, you're going 9 out of 10. I'll go 8 out of 10 because I think it's obviously very exciting for Jacquet, and like you, Andy, I think he's got what it takes to develop into a top Premier League defender. Last one. This one hasn't been done as we're speaking, but a lot of talk of it. Alain Saint-Maximin, former Newcastle man, former Nice player, returning to France, perhaps with Lens. What would you say about that?
That's really interesting, and I think that Lens need a bit of added quality to their squad. Maybe don't quite have the depth to keep this run going. So a player like Kemuku, who's a bit of a maverick, can do something different. Hopefully he's not going to upset the dressing room in terms of being an abrasive character or something like that. And if he proves to settle in, if he's able to settle in and do something, it could be a brilliant move for Lens. So 7 out of 10. Oh,
I thought you were going higher. I'm going to go 10 out of 10 because he's an entertainer, and they're a very, I don't mean this in a negative way, but quite a functional team. Like they're very kind of, everybody knows what they're doing, and throwing in a bit of a maverick personality like Saint-Maximin, it could really work.
Yeah.
Could win them the league title. This could be like was it Eric Cantona joining Man United. Did he join Man United mid-season, or am I making that up? No.
I think it was in the early months of the season. Yeah, outside of where the transfer window would be nowadays, he made the move to Manchester United. Yeah, that's a big comparison to make. I mean,
yeah, I may be asking a little bit too much, but we'll have to wait and see. Plenty of interesting moves going on as we speak, and maybe we'll reflect on them next week. But that is all from Tom Williams, from Andy Scott, and from myself, Matt Spiro, for this week. Thank you for tuning into the French Football Show. Please do rate and review us on Apple, on Spotify. Sorry, I'll get it out. Please do also subscribe on our YouTube channel at The French Football Show. And we very much look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.